Here's the really interesting thing. Some of us went in the marriage thinking, hit me with your best shot. Not literally, but hey, I can handle this. I can take care of it. I am super powerful. Maybe we knew there was an addiction. Maybe we didn't. Addiction in marriage doesn't mix real well in any context, let alone a biblical context. But maybe we really did pat Benatar and say, hey, hit me with your best shot. I got this. I hear that you're a tough cookie, but I can take care of it. And you know what? We did. We did take care of it. We covered it. We made sure it happened. We made sure everything got taken care of. And guess what? Now, like any good boxer, we're exhausted and we're like, time out, this isn't working. That's what we're talking about today, is fighting the right fight. In one of Beth Moore's books, she talks about fighting the right fight in marriage. Are you fighting each other or are you fighting for the marriage? There's a huge difference. Huge difference. I'm Tanya, a Harvard-trained theologian, 20 years in a marriage and 5 years working through what it takes to have a healthy marriage, learning, reading, getting certificates, all of those things. So join me today as we talk about, what are you fighting for? Are you fighting the villain, which is the addiction? Or are you fighting the person, which is your husband? So you got married, maybe you knew about this, maybe you drank together, maybe you used together, maybe you're both workaholics, but then life happened. Maybe you decided to stay home with the kids. Maybe he decided to take a job far away. Life happens and the addictive components got worse. So what fight are you fighting? Are you even aware of what fight you're fighting? That's what a lot of people, when they do come to and see that there really is a problem, they're not even sure what fight they're fighting. It seems like they're fighting the person, but really it's the addiction or the childhood trauma, or it's the issues that are each person carried in with their own baggage. You know that, right? That when you come into a marriage, you come in with your own baggage. Even if you came in young, whatever you did in your family may not work in this new family you've created. And that's true. You created a new family with this marriage. So if your family always set the fork on the left of the plate and his family always set the fork on the right of the plate, this is a true conflict. And your family folded the napkin and his family never had napkins. When you're irritated, when things aren't going well, that can become a real fight. What are you fighting? That needs to be clarified. And are you fighting each other or are you fighting for the marriage? So there's a couple different ways to look at this, and stick around and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get a roadmap for this journey. But part of the fight is fighting against the cause of the division. Yes, addiction can cause division. Who are you fighting? Are you fighting the addiction? Because if you're fighting the addiction by shutting him out, by angry, yelling, screaming, crying, begging, we know that doesn't work. You can go to any program, AA, Al-Anon, Celebrate Recovery, Craft, psychologist, psychotherapist, Johnson & Johnson, any program. They're going to tell you screaming, yelling, begging, pleading, withholding, shooting off guns in the backyard is not going to solve your issue. This kind of meeting hard on hard, like Pat Benatar says, give me your best shot because they say you're a tough cookie, but I got more than you do. That hard on hard doesn't change it. Even in AA, where it used to be the policy just to put them out and let them figure it out, they are coming to believe that is not the best way. So if you've done any working with Gabor Mate's work, and I highly recommend reading Hungry Ghosts, which is, he worked with everybody from high level achievers to Skid Row addicts. And what he came to believe is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's attachment. How do you build that attachment? So there's multiple things that you need to be looking at. Where are the fights happening? Are you a right side fork person or a left side fork person? Is that the fight that you're creating because you just want some kind of connection and your addict has totally numbed out and they're not available for you? And you're like, I'm in this marriage, but I want some type of connection, so I will get it through anger if that's the only way I can get it? Is it that you have just stored and stored and stored and stored and exploded over something that, yes, that may be important to you, and yes, if it could happen that way, that would be great, but in the scheme of a 50-year marriage is not worth it? So you have choices: fight, flight, freeze. And then the last one, we've talked about the A's before, is become aware of who you are, acknowledge what is happening, take action, and move into acceptance. So there are some things you need to take action around. Your children can't be left unattended. They can't be left in a precarious situation with people using around them. You have to make some choices around that. And we talk a lot about boundaries. And if you hop in the Facebook group, we've got a whole guide set around boundaries and videos that you can watch around that. The question is, are you fighting the right fight? If you are fighting the addiction head on, where is God? Where is God? I know many of you are praying and you're asking people to pray with you, and you are praying really directly. You are praying really clearly. Is God asking you for some changes that you're not willing to do, that you're not willing to step out of the way of, that you're not willing to uphold your end of the boundaries? That's what boundaries are about. Boundaries are about the things that I can control. So let me give you a little example going with the dinner idea. Fork right side, fork left side. Maybe that's not a big deal for you, but having dinner on the table and having dinner as a family was a super huge deal for me. And my husband basically chose not to show up. It was too intimidating. It was too intimate. It was too vulnerable. And he was not in a place that he could do that. So what we did was two things. The children and I had dinner at a time that we could do and function and get to bed on time because he wasn't coming home. But we shifted it to breakfast together because my husband was sober. He was able to be there. He was able to be present for the most part. Not a whole lot of vulnerability, but it remained a family time. So there are things you can do. You need a roadmap on how to actually do that. And that's what we talk about in the Arise from Addiction Facebook group. And we also talk about, what fight are you fighting? The last thing we want to do is pick a fight where we know we're going to lose, right? So why are you wasting your energy on fighting in something that you're going to lose? Maybe you're triggered. I understand. Maybe you have just come to the end of your limit. Maybe you don't have great habits yourself and would really like to change that. But if you are consistently picking fights that you are going to lose, we know how to overcome that. We know how to talk through that, to pray through that, and to give that to God. Because again, this is His responsibility to change. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it. So it is God's responsibility to do the transformation. He often places people in places so that they can help with the transformation, but the transformation is really a vertical alignment. And as you begin to look at that, you step away from trying to pick this fight, to prove the point, to teach them, to punish them. If we learned anything from punishment, it was, wow, I am never going to do that again, to where they can see it. It just goes underground. We've had several clients to where yeah, they set boundaries, and then the addict became a boundary manipulator. Yes, happy to do that, dear. Absolutely. I will take care of that. And then they go off and do what they please. So jump in with us, learn more about boundaries in our Facebook group, and also learn how to fight in a way that is fighting for your marriage, not tearing it apart. I know you. I'm just like you. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm a tough cookie. But the more that I pushed, the more that I fought head on, the more that I did not surrender to God, and that's not being a doormat, but surrender to God, who is always trustworthy, the deeper I dug the hole. So as we are looking at this, you have to step in and know what kind of fight you're fighting. And that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of courage to back up, become aware, then acknowledge what's happening, then take action, and then accept. So as you are stepping into those areas, make sure that you check into our Facebook group so that we can support you, love on you, pray for you, and let's get connected that way. Again, I'm Tanya. The Facebook group will be in the link below. Be sure and smash that like button. We'd love to see you over here, and we want to continue serving you in this messy middle of addiction and marriage.